Hi everybody, welcome to the Wayrider Chronicles. As I mentioned in the introduction, wanted to talk today about the current Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni. Specifically, want to talk about or want to mention her African initiative, which is also called the Mattei initiative, after the guy or one of the people who proposed it. Essentially, what it is, okay, I did say in the introduction yesterday, or in the previous segment that I put up, that I wasn't specifically, or did I? Did I say that? No, I didn't. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's talk about Africa. Here we go. Essentially, we have a situation in Africa, and leaving aside this Meloni initiative for the moment, where a lot of people want to leave. Vast majority of African countries are not democracies, as much as they would like to pretend they are not. They're run by autocracies who desperately cling to power. Currently, look at Senegal. I won't go into the details there. Usual African story. Success story, which is now turning into, which is really starting to look like another African country, which will degenerate into rioting and repression, all because, and this is a problem worldwide, we know, old men like to cling to power. Just look at the other two major autocracies in the world, without even thinking about it, Russia and China. Old men love to cling to power. We could say the same in America, although there are term limits, and for the moment, we've got democracy. Anyway, what it means is that with the demographics of the African continent, which is, it's a continent that has the fastest growing, or the countries have the fastest growing populations in the world, whereas we have the complete opposite in the so-called Western world. Starting with Japan, down with others, we have an issue of an aging population. They have the opposite. So we have a whole bunch of young people who would love to work and make money and live their lives in their country, who are not only pushed, but have to go overseas illegally in most cases, because nobody will let African immigrants into Western countries legally, have to take what they call the Mediterranean Passage, or what I call the Mediterranean Passage, which means jump in a boat in North Africa somewhere, either Syria or Tunisia or wherever, go across the Mediterranean, arrive in Italy, but they don't want to stay in Italy, they want to go north. What is the reason for all this? The reason is that the people in power essentially steal the money. South Africans have a term for this. They call it state capture, which basically means that the people in power pocket all the money, hand out dribs and drabs to the local population and keep them under control, and it's been going on for years and years and years. So coming back to the Meloni initiative, one of the things is one of the ideas behind it, let's talk about big principles without going into a lot of colonial politics, etc. One of the ideas behind it is to make essentially these countries economically viable so that people don't want to leave. They prefer to stay at home. I mean, let's face it, given most people given half a chance, or given more than half a chance, most people prefer to stay where they're born and bred. They don't suddenly like to up sticks and go and live somewhere else. It is an issue. We could go back in history through immigration patterns, but it's not really worth it because the massive immigration to the Americas was essentially to countries where there was hardly anybody. Let's not go into whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. Australia was the same, and to a certain extent, parts of Southern Africa were the same. But this is not the issue. At the moment we live today, we can't live in the past. And today there is a problem with a resource-rich country with lots of talent, with many people who, I can speak for where I went to school in Zimbabwe, lots of talented people who have to go overseas, have to leave the country to prosper for one single reason. Because the guys at top have stolen all the money, and they continue to steal the money, and it is one of those things which will not change until that type of politics will change. Okay, we can say Meloni has decided to put forward this initiative whereby they are trying to help. I mean, there was an initial thing with Tunisia where they were going to give money to, where they gave money or promised money from the EU budget, and okay, we can get into EU, we don't want to get into EU politics because it gets messy, but essentially it's the same thing, try and stop, because Tunisia used to be a beautiful place, well run, Arab Spring blew it all out of the water, and now it's run by another bloody autocrat, excuse my French. What do you do? What do you do? Do you say that we continue to put up fences? That's the easiest solution, which is sort of like, oh, duh, we have to put up a fence, we're not going to let them in. As we all know, repression doesn't work. It never works. The bigger the fence you up, the more people will try and get in. Always been the way. The grass is always greener on the other side. The essential thing about this initiative is an initial attempt to address. They're talking about economics. Politics, I don't know. If you sort out the economics and make those places livable, maybe they will eventually get around to looking at you, native Zimbabwe, my school days in Zimbabwe, get around to saying, right, we've had enough of these people who continue to steal our money, or steal our prosperity, because what they're doing is not really so much the money, they're actually stealing their future, and the general population says, okay, we had enough of this. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. That's mainly what I've got to say today for my first vlog. That's what they call it these days, right? Or do they? I don't know. Of the Wairarri Chronicles. See ya.